these problems of Yanab and how they were out of this universe. Okay. So
Okay. While we're getting assembled, relax. While we're getting assembled, I'll start the learning sponsors. If you guys still aren't even in the room yet. Okay. Year of Learning, Friends of Malaskotsky, Moshe Zelig Ben Mordechai, Martin Lippman and family in memory of his wife, Malka Chana Bat Pinchas, Friends of Herb Jeremiah, Tzvi Ben Zev, Friends of Sam Coleman, Shmuel Ben Yaakov, Friends of Gideon Lazinski, Mordechai Shlomo Ben Meir, Bella and David Adler in memory of her father, Eliyahu Ben Yosef Kohen. Those who were inspired by our Rebbetzin Emeritus, Sheila Shapiro, Sarah Estamaka Bat Meshulam Yisachar, Gail and Leslie Kaplan in memory of their parents, Mushka Shmunza Bat Yosef Chaim V'Chava, Chanan Ben Moshe Eliezer V'Chana, Pesha Bat Shmuel Yitzchak Halevi V'Tzipora, Isha Ben Yoel Moshe Cohen V'Chana, Rexford Friends of Gladys Sherman, Gutta Bat Meir, Michael Klein and Friends of Judah Klein, Yehuda Tzvi Ben Chaim, Marsha Brana in memory of her husband, Harav Yerachmiel Ben Shmuel, A Month of Learning by Ruvain and Susan Podolsky, in memory of his father, Tzvi Ben Pinchas, Charlie Gelfenstein in memory of his mother, Dacia Gilel Bas Meir Halevi, A Week of Learning by Ruth Burian in memory of her husband, Moshe Ben Mordechai, Susan Fruchter Kramer in memory of her late husband, Rav Shmuel Aharon Ben Ephraim Fischel. Today is the 9th. Wait, yeah, but it's the 9th of November, and that's what the list is. Okay? Today is a day of learning. Jesse and Sarah Marilis in memory of his brother Avram Moshe Ben David. Also, Rabbi Dr. Moshe Kranzler in memory of his wife Chayalea Bas Harav Aaron. May Hashem is having Aliyah, Crank Rafia, Velta Yeshiva Shem Matzliah. Israel going to bench John.
Oh man, it's got to everybody. All right. Yeah. So now today we have to just mop up what we said. We decided now that the machlokas of Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Yishmael was about the Nizak Shaimina or the Noazik Shaimina. It doesn't say that in the Brisa. That's how we interpreted the language with which they debated each other. That's what we said. So according to that, it comes out that according to Yishmael, generally the damage is paid with the best quality field. You have to match the best quality of the damagee. So even if the damagers, according to Rishmo, and even if the damager's worst field is equal to the best quality of the damagee, he can give it. However, even Rabbi Shmuel admits that there are times when he will have to give his best, even though it's better than the damagee's property. When is that? It's when the damager doesn't have anything less than his best that's equal. I'm biasing it a little bit. Let's say there's a debate about this, but when his worst is not as he has his best and his worst. When his worst is not as good as the damagee's best, he has to give his best, even though it's better than the damagee's best. So there's a case where he gives the best of the damagee, and there's a case, even according to Rishwell, where he gives the best of the damager. Damager. Now, but according to Rabbi Akiva, no matter what, you always have to give the best of the damager. The problem is, Rabbi Akiva said, and this is a kal v'chomer, all the more so is this the rule. You have to give the best. You have to pay the best when it comes to Hagdash.
It's all the worse of
by Hagdash. Now, we don't know, what is he talking about? What case of Hagdash? So the simple thing, you say, it must be if when I damage the ox of a normal person, he has to pay the best of his field. He sounds like certainly when he damages the ox of what? Of the Hagdash, he damages his ox, scores the ox of the base of Hagdash, he has to pay with the best. Or he damaged the property, or he damaged the property. Okay, now, so the Gemara says, it doesn't make any sense, says the Gemara. Why? Let's take a look. Okay, we're at we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines to the bottom. Rabbi Kiva. We said Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Kiva says, Lo ba kasavelik boasted is documented this. Kabbachomer Hegdish says, no, the whole purpose of the pasuk is only when you is to collect for damages, to collect for the damagers from the best property, and all the more so when it comes to temple property. Where it says, my Kabbachomer Hegdish. What do you mean all the more so? A Kabbachomer to Hegdish. If you say what? That a normal person's ox scored the ox of Hegdish, and now he has to pay just like he pays a normal person with the best of his property. He has to pay Hegdish with his property. What are you talking about? There's no such case. There's no obligation to Hegdish. We learn that since it says when the ox of a man will gore the ox of his neighbor, of his friend, okay, it's only the ox of his friend, and you're not liable at all. When your ox gores the ox of Hegdish, you don't pay anything. You're not obligated for damages. Okay, Ella Omer. So we're stuck over here. Ella must be what the case of Hegdish is not a case of damaging. No more like one of the better bias. Oh, you may say like this: if when I pay damages, I pay from the best of my field. Certainly, if a person donated money to the upkeep of the base of Mikdash, when they collect it, they're going to collect in land. He's going to pay the best of his field. Okay, no, is what that the temple treasurer is going to come and collect the money from his best quality field. Hey, Ella Balchov says, "Come on, get out! What are you talking about? At the best, what is he? He's a debtor. And the rule of a debtor is a Balchov v'beinus. The truth is, the rabbis allowed a Balchov at the best to collect from medium property and not from the best. Really, a Balchov should collect really what from the worst property. But the rabbis, we want very much to encourage lending in our society. Everybody knows you cannot have a commercial society without a money flow. We want people to we want to encourage people to lend money, just like today. You need money's the oxygen of the of the commercial system. So therefore, we're afraid if we want every guy who has money, we want the person to be inclined to lend money to people who need it. So if they're always going to collect the worst property, maybe they won't be so inclined to lend. So we want to, in order to encourage them to lend, we have them collect in the middle property. But that's the best. So temple is a creditor. The temple should collect from the middle, not from the best. How can you say Rabbi Kiva says collect from the best? Maybe you believe that Rabbi Kiva holds what? That in general, that creditors don't collect from the middle property, but from the best, and therefore what? So he's a creditor, so he's a debtor, and the temple's a creditor, and he collects from the best. I still say that no comparison. Maybe a normal creditor collects from the best, but the temple as a creditor won't. Why is that? I'll tell you why. Because a normal creditor is stronger than the temple as a creditor. Why is that? What's the rule? We just learned a minute ago. Well, if an ox gores a normal person's ox, he has to pay. If you gore the ox of a creditor, what you don't have to you don't have to pay. You gore the ox of the temple. If you gore the ox of the temple, you don't have to pay. Well, 1 second then. The temple is weaker than a normal creditor. Why? A normal creditor. You know why we let him? He collects from the best because we say that because when he's gored, what's his rule by damages? He gets paid. But if the temple doesn't get paid, how am I going to learn from the payment of damages of a normal creditor to the payment? How do I learn from the payment of a normal creditor to the payment of Hegdesh? The payment of a normal creditor who's going to get paid from the best, because he's very strong. Because when he gets damaged, he gets paid. But the temple, even though it's a creditor, if the temple would get damaged, it doesn't get paid. So I cannot learn the advantage of a normal creditor to the advantage of the temple, because a normal creditor is much stronger than the temple. A normal creditor gets paid for his damages. The temple doesn't. Oh, that's a nice true. That's a nice point. But over here, that's not what they're saying. That's in general in the transactions of donations. That's we always figure everything in favor of the temple. But here, the temple's not strong. He says you can't say logically if that's the case. You would say that differently. That's a nice point what you say. Actually, you know what? We got to think about it. We got to think about it. Okay. Okay, one thing. Okay, good. Now, the Gemara says, I tell you, there's no comparison. So the Gemara says, don't worry. So I'm still stuck now. So what is Rabbi Kiva saying is a Kal V'chomer? I'm just saying why it makes sense. They say, why is it a Kal V'chomer? The Gemara says, no, La'olam, you're right. We have to go back to the normal case. The Nagach, Turdi Dam, the Turdi Hegdesh. Don't worry, we're talking where a normal person's ox gored the ox of the temple. Or the Kakashalach, what you're going to say, what? Shore Ewa Rachmana. The low short like you said what that it's only that you only have to pay when you gore a normal person's ox, but not the temple. Rabbi Akiva Solak, Rabbi Shimon Nasi. You have to say Rabbi Akiva holds like a special opinion. Really, what everyone else holds what that when you damage when your ox damages a temple ox, you don't pay. But Rabbi Akiva holds a singular opinion, the opinion of what? Rabbi Shimon Nasi. The Tanya Shimon Nasi Omer, he held Shorshel Hegde, Shanoga Shorshel Hegde. If the temple ox scores a normal person's ox, Potter, it's exempt. The temple's exempt completely. We learn from the Psukim. Shorshel Hegde, Shanoga Shorshel Hegde. And listen to this, is amazing. If a normal person's ox scores the temple ox, not only does he have to pay, but he pays worse than normally. He says, what? Whether the normal person's ox is an unwarned or warned, he pays full damages. So now it makes sense. Now the temple as a damagee is stronger than what? Than a normal damagee. A normal damagee gets half damages when the ox is unwarned and gets full damage when the ox is warned. The temple gets full damages whether the ox is warned or unwarned. So now the Kabbalah makes sense. Rekiva says, if a normal person has to pay the best, the temple which receives full damages, whether the ox is unwarned or warned, certainly should get paid the best. Now the Kabbalah Rekiva makes sense, but he's holding according to a single opinion. Where he says, 1 second. He says that makes no sense what you said whatsoever. Okay, but we're gonna defend it in the How can you tell me that Rabbi Akiva holds this minority opinion? He says, if that's true, Rabbi Shmuel Akiva, then why do you have to say what we said before? That they're arguing about whether you pay the best of the damagee or the best of the damager. Okay, according to what you said now, remember the words of the Brisa of Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel never said exactly what they're arguing about. We just hearing an interchange. We don't know what it is. Maybe the truth is that everybody, even Rekiva, agrees that we pay with the best. We evaluate the best of the damagee. And here, the Shmuel and Rekiva are arguing the same argument. The Rabbi Nasi, the rabbis. That what? There's Rabbi Akiva, sorry, Rabbi Shimon Nasi. Rabbi Akiva holds what? That the temple ox gets not only does it get paid, he gets paid full damages even for a non-warned ox. Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Shmuel holds like the rabbis, what? That a normal ox that damages the temple ox doesn't pay at all. He holds like the rabbis. He says, in case is not. The says, you can't say that. Don't worry. What we said is that's not true. It's impossible. What we said originally is still true. Rabbi Akiva holds that you pay with that you have to pay with the best of the damager, and Rabbi Shmuel holds you pay with the best of the damagee. Why? Because he says, if it was really true that they all agreed that you pay with the best of the damagee, he says, Milo Ba'akasim. What's he saying? Oh, the pasuk's only come. He's arguing about the payment in the pasuk. You can't say there's no argument about that. The language of the interchange shows that he's arguing. He says, what you said in the pasuk is not true. That's number one. And number two, furthermore, he says, my Kabbalah like this. How are you going to say all the more so? If he holds that you pay with the best of the damagee, is that a stringency or a leniency? It's a leniency. When I pay with the best of the damagee, it means that the damager can take his worst land. If his worst land is the same quality as the best of the damagee, he doesn't have to give his best property. He can give his worst property. So paying with the best of the damagee is a leniency. Now, how does the Kabbalah work? I say, listen, if the lenient case has a stringent law, certainly the stringent case has a stringent law. Well, that's not going to make any sense now. If you're going to tell me if the lenient case of damaging a normal person has a lenient law that you can pay with the best of the damagee, what are you going to say? A stringent case like the temple that gets paid strongly gets a lenient law? That makes no sense whatsoever. It's inane. That makes no sense. Okay, but and furthermore. So number one, it makes no sense. And furthermore, anyway, you can't say it because we know explicitly that what we said before is the machlokas. Why? Because we had another brisa. Lord Homer, Avashi, Tanya Behedu, we learned explicitly, Meitav Sadeu or Meitav Karma Yishali. When we learned in the pasuk that he has to pay the best of his field of the vineyard, Meitav Sadeu shall Nizak, we said explicitly, the best of the field of the Nizak, Meitav Karma shall Nizak, the best vineyard of the Nizak, of the damagee, Divrei Rishwal, that was Rishwal, get ready. Rekiva says, no, Meitav Sadeu shall Mazik, or Meitav Sadeu shall Mazik. Explicitly, the Brisa says that Rekiva says the best of the damager, best of the damager. So therefore, everything is fine. We can explain the Kavachomer the way we said it by saying that he holds like what? Like Rav Shimon ben Asya, but the original argument remains in place and you cannot remove that. So everything, and now everything is fine. Now, Rabbosai, I want to summarize the next part before to make it easy, just to remember. And the reason I do this because I want, and it's important, and I'll try and do it as we continue. Believe it or not, the content is not what you should focus on when you're learning Gemara. I know it sounds funny. You should always focus on the argument. If you focus on the argument, the content will come. If you focus, you literally, well, not literally, you metaphorically lose the forest because of the trees. If you focus on content, if you make that your foreground, you lose, you'll lose everything. You won't get the point. If you focus on the argument, you understand, you focus on the overall, then the facts will come. They'll have to fit in, you have to go over it, etc. But if you don't focus on the argument, you never know what's going on. Okay, and that's why I make these, that's why I present in this fashion. So now the Gemara is about to ask a contradiction. We have one pasuk that sounds like you always have to give the best, and one pasuk sounds like you don't have to give the best. That's it. We're looking for a solution. We offer a solution that fails. We offer a solution that fails, and then we offer another solution that fails. But when the second solution fails, we're so interested in the content that we develop the argument. We go to town on that argument, but we leave over the main problem that we never solved our contradiction. So we have one solution, fail. Second solution, fail. But the second solution is so interesting. We have to discuss it. But yeah, we really want to analyze it, and then we finally solve it. Okay, so you're gonna have to hold this point in abeyance. And that's why I want to tell you something that's very important. I mean, yeah, I got to admit, I'm not late. You should know something. When we first opened the yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, it was right around when computers happened, when personal computers happened. So the yeshiva got a personal computer, and my chavrusa forced me to learn how to use it so we could take care of the yeshiva with it. He forced me. Big Talmid Chacham. He forced me to learn how to use it. So first of all, the whole computer then was not one tenth of your telephone today, but that computer was a computer. No, one of the things he gave me also was there was a program then way back called Fog Find. What? Fog Find, finding fog. What was it? They realized that people who write for public consumption want to write in a fashion that is digestible by the public. So believe it or not, you're going to be shocked. The average Mr. Public or Mrs. Public is 6th grade. The level that you want for public writing is 6th grade. Not anymore. Probably not anymore. Yeah, and then they write, and this is I'm talking decades ago. Okay, even then, the New York Times was considered grade 11. The New York Times was grade 11, not college. Grade 11 in high school. New York Times was grade 11. So this with this program, any piece of writing that you did for public consumption, it would analyze it. It would analyze it, right? And if it was over 6th grade, it would give you a flag, telling you got to mix people up. So of course, a person like myself, I didn't really care so much about that, but I was very interested in knowing why the program made the decisions that it made. So I was more interested to find out why it decided something was too high a level. So one of the things I found, one of the worst offenses you could do, one of the worst things that you could do to make it that it decided it was too sophisticated, if you used any type of ellipses or parentheses, it kicked you up to college. What does that mean? In other words, taking a thought, then interrupting the thought with another thought, and then returning to the thought it's too complicated. Now, why did I laugh? Because that is the foundation of all Jewish learning. What do? The whole point in Jewish learning, we do it all the time. You have to take a thought, hold the thought, you understand, entertain another thought, and return to it. And that happens all the time. That's why Gemara learning, and that's why sometimes, for all the years in the yeshiva, you have certain people, they'll come, they say, I cannot learn in a group. I cannot learn in a group. So, so I would not take them. Because why? Because the ability to think and to hear another person and to return to your thought is critical for Gemara learning. So those kind of people, I would tutor them. I wouldn't bring them into the yeshiva. I would have them tutored outside till they could take their place in a class. You understand? Because it's not just a technical problem. It's a problem for Torah learning. The ability to hold a thought, entertain a thought, and return to the thought is critical to Torah learning. Okay, that's what I explained. So that's all whole learning is like that. So you have an idea. We may take another idea and investigate the idea, and still, but you still have to remember what's happening. So I remember I told you it's a famous Jewish kids are sharp. There's lots of stories about them. I told you one of my favorites. The kid is there early in the morning. And the guy comes to the door. He asks for his father. So the kid says, my father is busy. He'll be out in a moment. He politely says to the guest. The guest to make conversation says, no. He says, what'd you have for breakfast this morning? So the kid said, I had bread and he said, and the father walked in. The kid shut his mouth, respect for his father, and goodbye. Several years later, early in the morning, the same guest knocks on the door. The kid opens up the door. He says, and butter. He says, and butter. He says, and butter. And butter. That's what's going on. That's the way that it's supposed to be. Okay, good. So now let's look at the question. I told you we're gonna have 2 attempts, a fail, a long investigation, the second attempt, and finally a third solution to the problem. Rami le Abaya le Rava. Abaya asked this contradiction between Psukim to Rava. Ksiv, it's written, Meitav Sadeh, Meitav Karmi Shalom. It says he has to pay the best of his field, the best of his vineyard. Meitav in, the best. Okay, Midiyachin alo, and anything else? No. I have a problem. We learned in the Brisa, well, Tanya, didn't we learn? When the Pasuk spoke about the payment for a pit, it said kesef, money, yoshiv, he should return to the owner. So it's a double language. You say pay. Pardon me. It says yishalem kesef, he should pay money. Yoshiv, he should return it. So you already told me pay. So the word pay and return is an extra word. Okay, why is return there? L'rabo shava kesef. It says, listen, you don't have to pay him money. You can pay him in kind, anything, anything has value. You're right. Lafilu subi, even brand for them was the cheapest. Today, if you go to the store, you have to pay double for brand than for the grain. By then, grain was for animals. Grain was the cheapest stuff. That was the junk. Well, we paid. Go to your health food store. You pay double for brand. It costs more. But anyway, no, by them, grain was the junk. That's the shell that's the shell. Okay, so he says. So one hand we learn you have to pay the best. Yet we learn you can pay anything, even the worst. So lo kasha. So the first answer is what? It's not a difficulty we can't solve. Kan midaito. When is it that you can pay whatever you want? When you pay on your own volition, based and said pay, and you didn't force the guy to have the court collect. You didn't force that. You didn't. Well, no, so some people want to learn the way you're saying, but I'm saying a little differently. A lot of people learn that he didn't make him take him to court. But for various reasons, it's easier to learn another way, which is like this. There's a difference, even after the court decides that a guy has to pay, a guy can pay, or he can make the guy have the court collect. So as long as the guy pays without having the court collect, he pays on his own volition, okay, he can pay even the worst. The con, okay, he can pay even the worst. The con, okay, bal karcho. But here, if he won't pay until the base thing comes to collect, okay, till the guy forces the base to collect, then he has to pay the very best. Amar Ulip is a Brady Rabbi Eli. He says, the truth is that differentiation actually makes sense in the language of the verse because the sieve it's written Yishalem, okay, because when it said the best, it used the word Yishalem, paying, which sounds like Bal Karcho against his will. Amar Le'abai says, what are you talking about? He says it's the opposite. Miksiv Yeshulam. Had it said what he shall be paid from, he'd be made to pay. Okay, that's fine. Yishalim, but it says he's going to pay. See me die to him. On the contrary, the language really sounds like what he's paying. Okay, so we knocked that out. That's out. Amar Abaya, he says, don't worry. He says it doesn't work what you said, but rather what he says. Okay, Kidamar. He says I'm going to take something that my Rebbe taught me. Okay, and with that, it's a very interesting point. And with that point, I'll explain over here what the difference is between the two psukim. Now, first of all, he says what? He says Kidamar, like the master. Who was the master? That was his Rebbe, Rabbah. There's a lot of different explanations, but Abaya was learned by Rabbah when he was young. And we one of the explanations is that Abaya's name wasn't even Abaya. Abaya's name was Nachmani. And Rabbah's father's name was Nachmani. It was Rabbah bar Nachmani. So you know that whenever you never call anybody by your father's name, and in front of him, and even not in front of him, if your father has a non-standard name, even not in front of the presence of your father, you never call anybody by that name. In presence of your father, you never call anybody by that name. And if it's a funny name, a different name, you never call it. So the one opinion is that he didn't want to call him. Abaya's name was really Nachmani. He couldn't call him Nachmani, so he called him Abaya Abala. He called him like Abba. You know, like Abba. He called like Abba, like Abaya. Is a nickname. Anyway, so he called me. He was the master. The Tanya now. So this Rabbah taught a tremendous chiddush. Now I'm going to give a little introduction. You'll see. Normally, the price of anything is what it gets in the market. That's the norm. What's the value of something? Whatever you can sell for. Go to the market, see what you can sell, see what people pay for it, and that is the value of a given object. However, certain things are only sold at certain times. Let's see, they're seasonal. So when a thing only sold in a certain season, the price is really the price of the season. Yeah, and truth is that people sell it people only sell it then. And the truth is that under normal circumstances, even when it's not the season, a guy who's not in trouble will sell it for the price of the season. You understand the price because it's seasonal. It goes
have to sell it for less.
no, I'm saying and a guy who's not stuck, a guy who's not I'm saying the other way. A guy who's not stuck will only sell at the real.
Won't get a buyer.
No, I'm saying he won't sell. But if the guy wants it, he'll sell it. He'll sell, but only at the price. Only a guy who's stuck will sell at the lower price. Only the guy who's stuck. Nobody else does it. Okay, now the Tanya. Okay, now so he's gonna tell us a tremendous chiddush. The Tanya we learned. And one more thing, that no person can collect charity unless they're considered poor. The rabbis called a person poor who didn't have enough money for a year. How much was that? 200 zuz. 200 zuz. So if a person has 200 zuz, they're not considered a poor person. And we're not talking about his house or his personal utensils. Nobody has to sell their home or their pots and pans, etc. To support themselves, and no. But a person has to have, besides that, has to have 200 zuz. But if a person has 200 zuz besides those personal things, then he's considered not a poor man, and he can't take any money that goes to the poor. He can't take Maisrani, he can't take like a chikapeya, all the things that go to the poor people. Now, if he has less than 200 zuz, not only he can collect, and we don't say, well, look, let's say he has 198. We don't say he can only collect 2. Once he has 199, you can give him, he's poor, and you can give him 1,000 as long as you give him one shot. Until he goes down to 200 again, okay, to less than 200, he's a rich man. Okay, good. So now, what happens though in this case? The Tanya we learned. A person had houses, fields, or vineyards in addition to his very personal property. They know motzi lemochan, but he's not able to sell them. Okay, he can't. They have a price, but he can't sell them at the right price. They're worth 200 zuz. You understand? But he can't get the 200. Okay, machinos or meiser ani will let him take meiser ani, what goes to the poor, ad mechsa, up till half the value. It's a very strange law. It's a very strange law. In other words, so if the price now is going for 60 less, we'll give him 60. If it's going 80 less, we'll give him 80. If it's going 100 less, we'll give him 100. If it's going 120 less, we still give him only 100. Okay, so we'll see in a minute why. Because the theory is that when land drops, it doesn't drop to less than half of its value. Now, so he's able to get up there, but it doesn't make any sense. Vahavi Bomar, he says, my Rebbe, Rabbah, analyze it, make sense. Hey, what's the case? If all property of the world, including his, went down, yeah, real estate's down in the whole world. Okay, then I feel it too. Give him even more. He's a poor man. Here, all the world's property's down. He's down to 100. He's down to 100. What do you mean give him 100? He's a poor man. Give him 1,000. Give him whatever you want. He's poor. Because the whole world's property is down. That's the value of his land. Everything's down. Ella the oka arasa the kuliyama, but rather what? All the land is up. Really, everybody's land is worth more. But the only thing that has held their value, and only what's happening is this guy, because he's trying to get money, everybody's lowballing him. He's like, okay, everybody's lowballing the guy because everybody knows he needs to sell. So therefore, what? He's lowballing him. I feel a poor don't give him anything. Why? Because he's not poor. Now there's really two answers here. One is simply he's not poor because his land is that he just got stuck, or he's been an idiot and we're not going to support him. He shouldn't have told. He shouldn't have let people.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have let people know that he's desperate. There's two explanations. One is he's really not really poor. The other is he's an idiot, and the public fund is not obligated to support a person for being an idiot. A guy's poor, we support him. A guy's an idiot, we don't support him. You don't tell people. You don't tell people. There once was a guy. I'm not late. There once was a guy. So he was a very good-looking guy, a nice guy, but he was not too bright. So in Europe, all the marriages were made by shidduchim. The parents got together, but every 2 minutes they saw this kid's not too bright. He couldn't get a shidduch. So finally, the father and the brother said, "Listen, we're going to go visit this Kala. She's a good girl." He said, "You're a handsome guy. You're a good-looking guy. Just shut your mouth. Let us do the talking. Don't open your mouth." He said, "And you'll see. We'll get the shidduch. It's going to be fine." So they go there, and the father and the brothers are talking. Everything's good. They're looking nice, and everything's fine. And then he hears the chassan. He hears the brothers of the Kala say, he's not saying anything. I'm afraid he's not too bright. He stands up. He says, "Daddy, come." He says, "They know already." So let's get out of here. They figure it out. You don't tell people. Okay. So now he says, "V'amar mar." So Rabbah had to explain it. It makes no sense. Either he's rich or he's poor. What's going on? He says, "Lo tzricha." No, this is the chiddush. It's only in this case that we do it. Normally, either we're to give him 1,000 or give him nothing. Why do we just support him up to half? The yomi nisan yakar harasa. The truth is, this is land in general. Farmland in generally, it pays the most in Nisan time. Why? Because that's when that's the time you have time to plow it and then plant it for the winter. Okay, you have time. But in Tishrei, which is normal time, you're ready planting. There's no time to plow, so land sells for the cheapest. Okay,
Sit all winter,
right,
so the time
right. People won't pay. So everybody holds their land until Nisan time when the price is high, and that's when they sell. But this guy, he's stuck. He lost his money, and he needs money, and he's forced to sell when in Tishrei. Zabin kedahashta, so he has to sell it at the low price. So now he's stuck. He's a nice guy, and he's stuck. And in general, I think I told you, we have a rule: Ashir Shalob Makomo is called a rich man who's not in his environment is considered poor. Let's say a rich guy gets stuck in the middle of he's visiting Africa and he lost his wallet and his credit card. He's considered poor. We're allowed to take the poor fund and pay him, but he doesn't have to pay back. If he got stuck in that place, he was poor. We support him from the poverty fund, and even though when he goes home, he's got $1 million, doesn't matter. He doesn't have to pay it. So over here, the problem is, why don't we consider this guy? He's stuck. What do we do? It says ad palgo ori lemesal. It's normal for it to go down to half, not less, not more than half. More than that, it doesn't. Now, so what's the chiddush over here? That we are really essentially look for the reasons that I told you, even though the land is now at the cheap time. As far as the rules of tzedakah, we're really looking at his land like the expensive time, right? We're saying, really, come on. So therefore, what if we just top off the difference between what he gets now and then? If he has 200 Jews, we're really looking at the land is worth what? 200 Jews, like the expensive time. See, look, it's the cheap time now. It's worth 100. We give him 100. We say, okay, you're rich. We give him 100 and say you're a rich man now. So you see that we're in the low time, we're looking at the land in the high time. So Rabbah told us a chiddush that even in the cheap time, we can look at the value of the land as the true value of the expensive time. Which I told you, for normal people, that's the case because he's not going to sell it then. And if you're going to force him, if you're going to demand it because you're desperate, he'll charge you the high price. But over here, this guy's stuck. So, but we see a point that for the purposes of tzedakah, we consider the high price the true price of the land. So now get ready. Now back to the ranch. We wanted to know. One pasuk said what you always have to pay from the very best. One pasuk says pay with anything, even the worst, even from brand. The same thing by damages. That what by guy gets damaged. What we can say the same thing. What dine beidis? Usually what the damagee collects from the best, has to collect from the best field of the damagee. But he says, you know what? He says, listen, you know what? I got a property next to your medium property. It's going to really help me. I'd rather get paid what in your medium, even though I have a right to collect from your best property. Your medium property is better for me. Why? Because it's next door to me. Okay. He says, therefore, he says, he says, listen. So instead of giving me a smaller quantity of better land, give me a little bigger quantity of medium land because I'll do good. Okay, medium land. So Amarle, so the damager is allowed to say to him, Isha kalta kadina, if you're gonna you take money according to your rule, you're supposed to get the best. Shakol kadahashta, I'll give you the best land at today's low price. At today's low price, because what we're in Tishrei time. I'll give you today's low price. You'll get the best land at the low price. Okay, the low. But if you want to do you a favor and give you, even though you're taking lesser land, he says Shakil Kayuka. I'm only going to give you medium land at the higher price of land. So we're going to apply the principle of Rabbah that we can look at the low time at a piece of land in the low time according to its high price. The Gemara says, "Get out of here! You can't apply that. That's not going to. That's not what it means." So you're going to say that's what it means? Well, I said that what? So when is it that I can give? When is it I can give Yashiv? Give anything? When what? When the guy wants the wrong stuff at the right time. At the right time, I'm going to give him the wrong stuff at the wrong time. You understand? That's what it is.
That's why
Yeah.
They agree.
Yeah. So Maski Yaakov, he says, get out of here. He says, you can't say that. He says, Im Kain, he says, if that was true, you can't do that. The Torah said that a guy who got damaged has rights to the very best. You're gonna lower his value, his strength. You're gonna say what? The Torah gave him a right to collect the very best, and he can't even collect medium. When he collects medium or bad land, he's gonna get clipped. It can't be that was the intention of the Torah. We're saying it's impossible. The Torah wanted to strengthen him. You can't say that when he takes worse land, he's gonna be worse off. The Torah wanted to give him the greatest strength, not the least. Rahman Amar, the Torah said what? We have to give him the best. He can't even collect from medium and from low. So we reject in theory the idea that the Torah is lessening his strength. So now so that was attempt two, but once, even though now we failed, but we're interested in the principle of Rabbah. When is it that we can look at cheap land like expensive land? Okay, so we're going to look. If I wanted to apply Rabbah's principle to a case, I'll apply it to a different case. Okay, that what you can compare it to the normal case of a creditor. Usually, a creditor has a right to collect medium land. For the reason I told you, the rabbis gave him strength. He shouldn't collect from the worst because we want to encourage creditors to lend money. So he's always allowed to collect from medium quality land. So he says, but let's say the creditor who the rabbis gave strength to now says to the debtor, you know what, Havli Ziris to he says, you know what, I got land next to your worst land. Give me a little more of your worst property. It'll make me happy. So the debtor can say to him, Isha kalta kadina, if you're going to take like the rule that the rabbis gave you for medium land, shakol kadashna, you can get it at today's low price. But if you want me to give you, bad land, which you're not entitled to, you have to get it according to the high price of labor. So we're going to apply Rabbah's principle. Gemara says, no, you can't say that either. He says, get out of here, you can't say that. In Cain, if that was true, you are going to reverse the intention of the rabbis. Think about it. Why did the rabbis give the creditor a right that he really doesn't have? Why did they let him collect? Because we don't want to discourage creditor. We want people lending money. He says, if that's true, you're going to lock the door in front of borrowers. You're going to make it so the creditors don't want to lend. Why? Normally, because the creditor is going to say to him, "What you want to give me a worse price because I'm taking worse?" If I had my money in my own hand, I never give it to you. Having shakli kadash, I could have bought it from you or from anybody at today's low price. He says, now because I was an idiot and I lent money to you, doesn't say an idiot in the Gemara. Now because I lent money to you, he says, he says, I have to pay at the high price. That's it. Forget about it. Don't come back to me for any loans. I'm not lending anybody any money anymore. So that can't be. So we're still looking, where's the place we could apply what Rabbah said? He says, I'll tell you a case we can apply it. Okay, you can compare it to a woman collecting ksuba. Every woman has a delayed check when she gets married. That check, the husband writes it for a certain sum of money. It's called a ksuba. And if he dies, she collects it. Or if he divorces her, she collects it. Every woman has a check. But where did she collect from? From the worst land. A woman collecting her ksuba always collects from the worst land. So let's say the same thing. She says, listen, I have property next to your median land. So I only have a right to bad land. But what? but I know I have no rights to your medium land, but I have a proposal. She says to him, Habli Benes Mitzir Porta, give me a little, I'd rather have your medium land. So, okay, give me a little less. Okay, yeah, right. Amar Allah, he says to her, listen, Isha Kalta Gadinach, if you take according to your rule of the cheap land, Shakol Kadash, I'll give you the low price of now. Be low, but if you want me to do you a favor and give you what? Medium land that you're not having the right to Shakli Akiko the economy. Okay, you can collect it, okay, then you have to take it only according to the high price of land. So we applied it. But in any case, after all that,
So why wouldn't a person accept a smaller piece of superior property rather than a larger piece of?
proximity, right? Remember
No.
location, the first rule of real
No,
estate.
he's asking why wouldn't he?
Why wouldn't who?
asking it
Why
the other
wouldn't
way.
someone accept
He would, but the lender doesn't want to do it.
Wait, it always, one second. Land depends on proximity. He's always getting the
Okay,
person, one second, in all these cases, right? In all these cases, the person getting the same value. He's always getting $10 of this, that.
So why would the Torah say give her the superior property
No, the
rather than
cheap-
give her a
I
smaller
want to tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because I'm going to explain it. I'm going to explain you why. No. Wait. Rabosa, it's simple. Land is a big. We're going to see it. We're going to see it in 1 second. It's going to come home in a second. Land has one great disadvantage over every other type of property. Huh? You can't move it. That's not.
And
It's
it may
real.
not be
It's
funded.
real estate. Okay. And the one property with land is you can't move it. So what? So I can't pick up a piece of property when there's no buyers. Let me take it to another country and
Put
sell
it
it.
in Manhattan.
Yeah, I get here. That's what business people, entrepreneurs always. Well, what's great? So you buy it. You can't. The whole point of a business is what I buy it here and sell it there. You buy where it's cheap and sell it where it's expensive. Land is the one thing I can't do that with. That's the one drawback of land. So there's times when I'd rather get worse land. And I'd rather get worse land because it's close, or I'd rather get better land or less. All those things, everything. Yeah, more of it. There's all kinds of things. My proximity makes a big difference. But here's the main point: the creditor is always at a disadvantage because he can't move his land, so he always wants to have the best quality land. Why? Because he can move. That's the easiest thing to sell. That's the one I want to bring out. Okay, that's why. It's if I'm selling land, I generally want to have this as a salesman. I want to have the best land. Okay, it's easy. Best land is easier to sell. No, $10 of good land is easier to sell than more than a larger piece of $10
Because
smaller.
we're talking about an agrarian
Right,
society,
exactly,
and it
exactly,
produces more
exactly,
grain.
exactly. Okay.
Location.
Well,
Yeah.
it's it,
No, for the seller, the problem is what? For the seller, the problem is having
ease
good
of
property.
sale.
Good property, ease of sale. For the buyer, sometimes the real point is what is proximity. That's the point. That's the two reasons. Okay. So far, so good. So explain both. That's both sides. And now you're going to see the point of women at. So now, even though we succeeded in applying Robert's principle, but it failed to explain the two
The
psukim.
original
So we're
question.
back. We're still stuck on the original question. How come one pasuk says you have to pay with Meitav the best, and one pasuk says you pay with brand, you pay with the junk, you pay with the worst? The answer is so we're still stuck with our original difficulty. Amaravi says, don't worry. And this is the conclusion. Called the whatever anything that has value is called Meitav. Anything,
Anything that's easily
any movable object, any movable object is called Meitav. Why? Because if I can't sell it here, I can sell it someplace else. And those Meitav is a quality that is only a factor in land. When it comes to movables, chattels, here, if you can't sell it here, you sell it there. There's no problem. But land, since the person is stuck, but the land is stuck where it is, now is the only place where the principle of Meitav can apply. Okay, I said, okay, everything is Meitav. Well, Meitav Sodeyu Ksiv, okay? But what's written in the Torah? It's written the best of his land. So the real principle of Meitav is really what, when it comes to chattels, pay anything. That's the whole point. Anything that has value, even the worst of oh no, I'm sorry. Rabbi, I said wrong. Forget what I just said. Sorry. I just got excited. Forget what I just said. He says, call the He says what? He says, whatever I said wrong. Whatever you have to give the best. If you're paying in brand, pay the best brand. If you're paying in cups, pay the best cups. If you're paying in knapsacks, pay the best knapsacks. I'm sorry, I said wrong. That's what he says. It just means pay the best. Okay, you have to pay the best of whatever you give. You can pay brand, but you have to, if you have low quality brand and high quality brand, pay high quality brand. You want to pay in paper cups? You have low quality paper cups and high quality, you're paying the highest. Okay? Because the Gemara says, get out of here. That nice try, but no good. It's also no good. Why? Well, mate of Sadeuksi, it didn't say the best in general, it said the best of his land. So now, yeah, so now, yeah. So yeah, so now the part that I preempted, I jumped in, here's the end. Alakiata Papa, Rapuna, Bredu of Yeshua, okay, me Rav, they came back and they said, no, here's the point. Call me Limativ, that's the point I read. Every chattel in the world is called the best. Anything that you can sell is called meta.
We'll find the
Yeah, the e lo mizdabin hacha. Why? Because we can't sell it here. Mizdabin matarchis. You can sell it someplace else. Okay, the bar me'ara. The only thing is what, except for land. The one thing that's not automatically the best is land. Why? Okay, So therefore, what? Since land really you can't move it, and they have better and worse. So therefore, what? The late metav. Here's where the Torah demand you have to give the best. In order that buyers will jump upon it. So the person wants you know so the damagee wants to receive the best quality land because let's say he's trying to get his money back. So you got $100 of land. He wants $100 of land that it's easy to what to sell.
So he can pay
Yes, you got get his money, whatever it is, get his money back. So that's the point. So sorry, I just jumped in the beginning. So the final conclusion is what? That the word metab is something that only really in theory, everything in the world is metab. And the only place that metab really applies is by property. Any chattels, any movables, you're paying the best. It doesn't matter. Whatever you pay is good. But the Pasuk said when it comes to land, since land is immovable, you have to give always the highest quality. Thanks. I'm sorry, I jumped at the end. Okay, it happens. Rabbi, I thank you. Yeah, this is the right place to stop. Yeah. Oh no, it's the wrong place to stop. 1 second. I apologize. Wait 1 more second. We have to do one more piece. Yeah, I'm sorry. We have one more piece we have to do. I apologize. Sorry. I apologize. This is an incredible question. Kashain Shaman. When let's assume that we have to pay the best of the mazik, of the damager. Good? The best of the damager.
How do you evaluate?
But when I say the best of the damager, what is it? Let me say it outside, and then I'm going to read it. And then I'm going to read it inside. Okay? We don't know what it means. We'll take we know what do you mean? I'll explain in a minute. B'shaloi shaman, when we say best, do we mean best
that he has
of the damager, or the best of the world? Is it subjective to the damager, or objective vis-a-vis the world? Now, according to Rishmael's opinion, we say that we value according to what? According to the damagee. The world obviously has no meaning. Yeah, the world has no meaning. It's completely subjective. For sure, he said it's the damagee. But Kitabai, where do you have the question? Kitabai, where are you going to have a question? According to Rekiva. Since Rekiva said it's the damager, we don't know what it means. Why is that? Let me explain it outside of it inside. In other words, we don't know because damager is damager as opposed to the damagee, or is damager as opposed to the whole world. If I say damager as opposed to the damagee, so if the damager's worst land is equal to the damagee's best land, what? Damagee's best land. I still have to pay what? I still have to pay the best of the damager. But what if the damager's worst land?
You're saying it back.
I'm going to say it right. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Best land is junk compared to the rest of the world.
We have to see what are we excluding? Is it him as opposed to the damagee, or is it him as opposed to the world? Let's take a look. Right, when it says the best of his land, Lemauti de Nizak, is he only precluding the Nizak? In other words, that even though he has land, his worst land is equal to the best of the Nizak, okay, it's still one second. I need 1 second. I just need give me 1 second, please. Hold on 1 second. is it just that he has to preclude the damagee? So that if he has land that the world considers the best, uh, if he has land that, one second, 2 minutes, please. Even if he has land that is equal to the best of the damagee, until it equals the best of the world, he hasn't paid his job. He hasn't paid his payment. Why? In other words, he says he has to, we don't evaluate. Rabbi Kiva said we don't evaluate according to the Nizak. You can't just give land that's equal to the best of the Nizak, that's lousy land. If the world doesn't consider that good land, he can't pay it. So is it that what? You can't evaluate according to the Nizak. He has to give the best of the world. Oh, Dilma, no, when we said the Mazik, not only don't we care about the Nizak, we don't care about the world. The Muti de Almanami, he even comes to exclude the world, and that even though even though he has land, his lesser land is better than the world's best land, he still has to give his best land. Let me say it again, we'll make it easy. In other words, when we said Mazik, is Mazik precluding the Nizak? We follow the Mazik, we don't care about the Nizak. And therefore, even though, in other words, so he cannot give the best of the Nizak. If this is not the best in the world, he can't pay it. Why? Because we're only precluding Nizak, okay? But if he gives the best in the world, that's fine, even if it's not his best. Or we say, no, it's the Mazik. Not only don't we care about the Nizak, but you have to pay like the world, or no, we care about the Mazik, we don't even care about the world. Even if his worst land is equal to the best of the world and is equal to the best of the Nizak, what? It's still not good because it's not his best. So is the damager saying, I don't care about the damagee, but as long as he's like the world is good, or no, he's saying, I don't care about anybody except for the damager, even if his worst land is like what? Is like the world's best. It's still not good. He always has to give his best. That is the question. Then we're going to answer tomorrow. Sorry. I got a little sleepy in the daytime. Very good. Let's go. Thank you.
Butchered that. I'll tell you a story. Best and the worst. Three guys. Making a plate.
I'm gonna have to see. I have to run out this one. You got save it for tomorrow. Save it for tomorrow.
All right.
Save it for tomorrow. Have a good morning. Ask them how much longer. I'm coming back.
You coming today, Ruben?
Yes.
There's two. There's the women's first, the men's first. I don't know. I have to look it up. Who's speaking today at the end? Oh, the rabbi has a share at 11 o'clock. At 11 o'clock. But who's giving in the afternoon?
A member of the show is talking about his experiences during the holiday.
Okay. Yeah, an introduction to Crystal now.
An introduction to what?
Crystal now.
I don't need to
Presentation
be
with-
introduced to Crystal.
I don't know. We don't
a long
appreciate the
time
horror
ago.
that was Crystal, huh?
No, I we do.
You controlled yourself nicely for a couple of days. Today you went.
Okay, he was frumping around.
I don't think it helped.
Butchered that last piece. I have to do it again tomorrow anyway. Ugh. So you retired, Kenny?
Joe has asked me to take on some other responsibilities.
So you're not gonna be giving, he's gonna always give it now? Good.